My name is Daniel Jean-Louis. I am the CEO of Bridge Capital, and I'm from Haiti. And I've been exploring the question of poverty and wealth creation for a number of years. Led me to do a lot of different research, which I will share with you guys today. I've traveled around the world to speak about this issue of poverty and how it can be overcome. That's actually the easy question. The easy question is, how does a country get out of poverty? All market economy prevails now around the world. Market economy's backbone, most recognizable characteristic is transactions, where people transact to satisfy their needs. So besides Cuba today, pretty much most every country do transactions. So solution to get out of poverty requires market-based solutions. So basically, for a country, all of the countries that have gotten out of poverty, I have, for my first book, From Aid to Trade, now we're transitioning into studying for a new book. I am studying about 38 different countries together, according to specific criteria, to find out what is it they did that got them out of poverty. And basically the underlying theme about those countries is the fact that they have all found a way to turn their assets and liabilities into marketable opportunities. So the first step to get out of poverty is to measure the strength of your assets. Countries have beach, they have natural resources, they have human resources, and they have different assets they possess as a country. Even geographical positioning could be an asset, tangible or untangible asset. So they find the strength of those assets, find a way to turn that into marketable opportunity. That's the easy part. Every country have figured that out. The hard part is how. Because the market transactions require not only the agent, which is the entrepreneurial spirits and entrepreneurs that are turning those assets with access of capital, equipment, and market reach. But also it requires macro conditions that surrounding this aspect. And it requires rule of law, which is what everybody already know. Rule of law, infrastructure building, good governance, lack of corruptions, and a bunch of macroeconomic indicators that will favor those transformation of those assets to marketable opportunities. This is a new concept that we're bringing in. It's called OBED, that was developed from my first book, From Aid to Trade. It's called OBED. Opportunity-based economic development, where it's a new framework where all economic development is based on the fact that opportunity should be at the base of economic development. So by turning those assets into marketable opportunities, those countries maximize their potential. Because a country can be rich full of potential, like Haiti, right? We have the beach, we have the same characteristic as Republic Dominican. Okay? In Dominican Republics, the GDP per capita has grown above 5% in the last 5 to 10 years. In Haiti, it's less than 1%. Why? Because Dominican Republic has more private investors, they have more businesses, and they have more products that are being developed there. Whereas in Haiti, we have less and less of all of this. So the reason why this is different, because all the surrounding factors exist in the Dominican Republic towards the end of maximizing potential, whereas in Haiti, we don't have that. We have struggling entrepreneurs, we're struggling with corruptions, and the fact that doesn't help towards the path of wealth creation. Wealth is the results that you obtain after you turn your asset into marketable opportunity. A lot of people confuse wealth with asset. Asset is not wealth. You can possess a land, okay, but doesn't mean you're wealthy. If you don't find a way to transform that land, if you don't put a business on it, if you don't put cultivate on it and sell that to the market, you can remain poor. You have a potential, you have a huge asset that has a lot of potential, but the actual reality, you can stay poor. It's the same for a country. Foreign aid has not been any trigger to economic development, for the simple fact that foreign aid does not aim for long-term policy plan. Foreign aid is supposed to be there to help somebody in the short term, period. What has happened in the past 50 years is foreign aid has become the default, the automatic default for economic development for some countries that have very unstable government, and they become more and more reliant on the foreign aid. So it becomes something that was supposed to be in the short term, become by default an economic development strategy that has produced massive amount of failures. If you compare the countries that has a lot of foreign aid compared to the countries that have a lot of foreign direct investment, the result is striking, right? Again, to compare Haiti to Dominican Republic. In Haiti, we receive, after the earthquake, over $12 billion in aid. Well, that never made it there, but it was pledged to be. But we constantly rely more and more on aid because we have the private foundations, the churches, the schools from the United States, all over the world that are making different projects to happen in Haiti, different orphanages, etc., etc. Where in the Dominican Republic, there is some of that happening, foreign aid, but they focus more on private investment. Last year, Haiti received $104.2 million in private investment. Dominican Republic, $2.5 billion. So it has been clear, demonstrated there's positive significance in GDP growth in countries that focus on foreign direct investment, whereas to countries that focus on foreign aid. All the countries that are corrupt have a lot of foreign aids or poor. All of the countries that has less corruption, a lot of foreign direct investments are making progress. It's a reality. If you look at all those African countries, the poorest countries in the world, Republic Democratic of Congo, countries like Republic Central Africa, Chad, all those countries, even countries like Bangladesh, right, that used to have a lot of aid, the more aid there is, the poorer those countries are. Absolutely. There's a lot of people who are interested in this content, who are actors, but are not big readers. And I feel like having a documentary will reach more segments, people who would otherwise not read a book, but would be interested in seeing in the film. And it needs to be clear. It needs to be clear. It needs to be documented. It needs to be facts. And we call people to action. To my surprise, a lot of people have listened. They are open to listening to, because they're all exposed to the fact that there's gotta be something wrong with this picture. All of this money, all of this aid, nothing has happened. There is a reason. So they are open to listen to what it is and what can they do about it. So that's the diversifying the channels that we're reaching out is critical, because we're looking for mass, we're looking for educating the whole world about this issue of aid. For the next 20 years, if we don't want to get the different results, we gotta get to different strategies, different results. So I do my first book, From Aid to Trade, working on the second book, shooting a documentary, and I speak around the world on the subject of how do we go from aid to trade in countries like Haiti and all the developing world. Poverty bothers me. I want it solved. And I've seen a lot of countries in my lifetime that has done better just because they adopted different strategy, different approach, and different behaviors. And I believe it's solvable. And I want that for Haiti. But in order to do that, I have to learn from all the countries around the world that have done it. And so for that reason, this is what fuels my quest to search, to share, to connect, to learn, unlearn, relearn, and expand my horizon and bring my message to my fellow countrymen. And this message brings hope, because economic prosperity brings jobs, and jobs bring happiness and well-being of citizens. And this is why I do this, and it's my everyday purpose. And I love it.